From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
All right, so we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm Diana Ingram. I'm the executive director here at Hill Center at the Old Naval Hospital. And I just have to ask, well, first of all, it's so lovely to see such a mixture of ages and folks, but is there anyone who has never been in this building before? Would you raise your hand? Excellent. Welcome.
Wow,
Come back.
That's great.
Take a look at the program highlights that are on your chair. There's all kinds of fabulous things happening, but the neatest thing that's happening, aside from this event tonight, next Wednesday, the beautiful artwork that you see that was just put up. We're having our opening reception with the artists, so please come back, 6 p.m. next Wednesday. We have sparkling water and wine and mixed nuts, and it's a fun time for all. Tonight, take a moment to turn off your mobile devices, if you would, please. And it is a great pleasure to welcome you to the 11th edition of Life of a Poet. It's amazing. Featuring always effervescent, fabulous poets. But tonight, Dunya Mikhail, the enigmatic, effervescent poet in residence. And Ron Charles, of course, who is, such a fabulous raconteur. If you've missed any of the previous Life of a Poet conversations, they are up on our YouTube channel and also on the Library of Congress's website, I believe. So it's a really fascinating archive. The series is made possible through the generous support of National Capital Bank. So if you live on Capitol Hill and don't bank there, consider banking there. We like them. And the format, directly following the conversation, Dunya will sign books here. Yes, it's a slightly new format because some people didn't get their books signed and they didn't get to buy them, so they're here. Then everyone is invited to adjourn to Bayou Bakery, which is right there. And there's a 15% discount, which you may not even need to use tonight. So save the 15% discount and come back for another evening at Bayou Bakery. Okay, now please join me in welcoming Robert Casper, head of the Library of Congress's Poetry and Literature Center. He is also the programs director for the Poetry Society of America. Casper served as membership director for the Council of Literary Magazines and Presses, and I guess 11 years ago now founded Jubilat, the one of a kind. It publishes the best of contemporary poetry anywhere. So let me turn this over to Rob Casper. Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. Thanks to all of you for coming out on a suddenly cold evening. Oh, it's okay. Bayou Bakery. The gumbo is really good. It's worth going to get it afterwards. And they actually have good coffee drinks, too. We're thrilled to be back here, thanks to Marianne Brownlow, who dreamed this series up a few years ago, and here we are at number 11. Of course, we want to thank the Washington Post for its support, and thank our Washington Post Book World editor, Ron Charles. To think that once upon a time, Ron was only focusing on fiction at our city's great paper. What he has done over the course of 10 programs, I believe, will continue to entertain and educate poetry lovers for the years and decades to come. And it's worth checking out the webcast of the videos on our website and in the Hill Center's YouTube channel. They're just remarkable. Before I talk about tonight's featured poet, let me say a little bit about the Poetry and Literature Center at the Library of Congress. We are home to the Poet Laureate Consultant in Poetry. Our current Poet Laureate is Juan Felipe Herrera, who is terrific and fun and wild and sweet. And we're seeing when he comes into town next week and in April. We also host a range of programs such as this one. Most of them are just down the street at the library. If you want to find out more about our programs, you can visit our website, www.loc.gov/poetry. We've also left out some surveys that should have been on your chairs. We want to find out what you think about this program, get your comments so that we can improve upon it, though it's really sort of impossible to improve on what Ron Charles is about to do. And I mean that completely
Don't waste
sincerely.
too much time filling that out.
I had a fun 10 minutes before the event basically saying I love Ron Charles so much I don't even know what to do myself. So anyway, please give us your feedback. Let us know what you think. That'd be great. And now I'm excited to introduce Dunya Mikhail to begin our 2016 season. Mikhail was born in Iraq in 1965 and was forced to flee in the wake of the First Gulf War. She is the author of 6 books in Arabic and 1 in Italian. Her 3 books in English, all published by New Directions Publishers, and I believe all 3 are for sale outside, include The War Works Hard, shortlisted for the Griffin Prize and named one of 25 books to remember from 2005 by the New York Public Library. Diary of a Wave Outside the Sea, which won the 2010 Arab American Book Award, and most recently, The Iraqi Nights. Mikhail's honors also include the UN Human Rights Award for Freedom of Writing and a Kresge Artist Fellowship. The co-founder of the Mesopotamian Forum for Art and Culture, she's an Arabic special lecturer at Oakland University in Michigan. And for her, actually, even today is somewhat warm coming from Michigan. Mikhail is here to participate in the Al-Matunabi Street Starts Here DC 2016, a book arts and cultural festival led by Split This Rock. For the last 2 months, exhibits, programs, and events have commemorated the 2007 bombing of Baghdad's historic bookselling street. A big thanks to Split This Rock Executive Director Sarah Browning, who is here. Sarah. Sarah's making this happen. To find out more about the events in the festival, there are a number of events coming up in the weeks to come, including events with our featured speaker. You can check out this website. I'm just going to give it to you. It's www.amsschdc2016.org. Or you can go to the Split This Rock website and click on the link, and you should be able to check it out. But I strongly encourage you to do it. For this series, For Life of a Poet, tonight offers us an opportunity to expand Ron's ongoing engagement with poets and poetry beyond our country's borders. This seems apt for our capital city, too, considering the debates among thinkers of all types, positions, and perspectives within the district on all things international. I look forward to the next hour and the ways it will surely show me why Dunya Mikhail's poems need to be part of that debate. Please join me in welcoming Ron Charles and Dunya Mikhail.
It's such a delight to have you here, and to have
My pleasure.
read your poems and to have been so moved. While preparing for this interview, I ran across an exasperated poem in which you write, "Please don't ask me, America. I don't remember on which street or with whom or which under which star. Don't ask me, I don't remember." I'm going to ask you, though. I'm going to ask you anyway. You're our 11th poet. You're our first foreign-born poet. You're our first Iraqi poet. And you're the first poet whose life story is so death-defying. No, it is. I mean, there are some really exciting moments in your biography, and of course, some terrible moments. Tell us why you had to leave Iraq.
Okay, but first you said first. I'm from Mesopotamia. I mean, originally Iraq, and in that place, everything that happened in the Sumerian culture happened first in history. So, but I left Iraq. I had to leave Iraq. Well, I was going to leave Iraq earlier than I had to leave when I graduated from secondary school. I was, very good at math. I mean, I don't know how serious was going to be, but my father was serious about it more than me, and he thought I was genius in math, and I have to, to show the world that make inventions in math, and he wanted to send me to America to work on to study math more. And that time was during the Iraq-Iran war. It was the beginning of the war when I graduated from the high school, and I was so excited. To be honest, not about math, but excited to go to America, be independent, and imagining everything that I can do whatever, like read any book, even banned books, and a lot of things. Maybe be in a small apartment versus our house was full of guests, like round the clock people. I don't know. My mother was so social. She's not like, so I always. They were lovely, but I wanted that something different. And
you were 18, 19?
18, I think. What age we graduate from? 15, 16? Well, 6, 12. Yeah, 18 maybe. Yeah, I'm 18. You're right. So, and anyways, so I was talking about 12 hours a day, and the other 12 hours just imagining, what's going to happen. But then when we went to the passport office and to get permission, because we had to get permission to leave the country, all came to nothing, because they said the law doesn't allow women to travel, study at their expenses during the time of war. So of course my father saw my disappointment, so he said, you know what, this should be temporary, because the war will not last forever, and this law will change. Why don't you study English so you be prepared for America? So that's how I went to the English literature. And then when in the college, University of Baghdad, and with literature and friends, to be honest, I forgot about America, about math, and about all that. I was busy and very engaged with these things, but it happened after graduation. And by the way, I graduated from the University of Baghdad, and the law didn't change. The war was still, and the law didn't change. But what happened is that in '95, Diary of a Wave Outside the Sea in Arabic, Part 1 came out. And
this is your
your
first book?
In Iraq, it was not first. No, before it, it was this book was number 3 in Iraq. So there were 2 books before, but when this came out, we have censorship department. We have to have permission before we publish. It's actual building with actual employees. So that their job title is to watch,
protect
the
populace
yes,
bad ideas.
And yes, to protect you from bad ideas. That's perfect. I mean, and then there was a passage that was highlighted by the censor that should be taken away. And I said, it's a small, very small text. I can't afford taking anything away. It's a small book. He said, you know what? So he wanted to be on the safe side. I don't blame him. He said, I will just put the note and it's up to you. So, but then I didn't take anything away. And then, and there was somebody came to my office in the Baghdad Observer, and he pretended he's journalist. He wants to interview me, but I know my colleagues are journalists. He was not journalist.
But this time you were a working journalist.
In the Baghdad Observer, yes. And then he was really investigating. He was asking all these questions that so I was suspicious about, because he was also focusing on this passage that I didn't take away. And I was like pretending he's a real journalist, saying, it's not the task of the writer to explain, it's the task of the reader.
So you were both pretending.
Yes.
And both knew what was happening.
Yes.
Yes.
And then I had some links, friends who had links in the, that somebody told me, a friend, her son-in-law knew that there's a report out, and she said, as soon as possible, leave the country, because the report, until it reaches higher rank, is no good. So, but it was very complicated, the paperwork to leave. And I don't know, should I continue then what happened, or maybe, because how I left the poetry really saved my life. And when I say that, really is not metaphorical, it's real. That's how I left, through poetry. But
you had to change your occupation from journalist to poet.
Exactly.
Then you were free to go.
Yes, because well,
Please leave.
yes, as a poet, you don't need a leave of absence from anywhere.
Nobody,
But
nobody cares.
yeah, but leave of absence in Iraq that time was very complicated. As a journalist, you need to take papers from the Union of Journalists, and that is very complicated. It takes forever, and so really, poetry saved my life. And it's written in my passport. I keep it. It's expired, but the profession is poet.
Poet. And Saddam saved you from math.
I didn't think of that. I love math.
You still love math?
I still love math. I know I stopped it. I mean, but I have that, like, you know how you have first love, you think of it,
Yes.
you think about it sometimes, like
Yes.
that. Like you forgot about it, but it's first love.
I was a math major in college, but now when I look back, I don't even know what the questions are. I can't read it at all. You received a message that let you know it was time to get out fast, and that message was, "The flowers are withering." Weirdly poetic and tragic.
Yeah, this message was from my friend, fiction writer, I don't know if I'm allowed, Lutfi al-Dulaimi. We agreed that, okay, because I left, but I had in mind maybe I come back if things calm down. So this was our code, that if she tells me the flower, are blooming, and this means, okay, come back.
Yes.
So that was our code.
The flowers are
Because she
withering.
can't talk
Right.
directly in the letter. So that was her message, that don't come back. She didn't want me back. I think.
This is a weird question, and none of us is in favor of censorship, of course, but is there a way in which censorship puts pressure on language that makes it more metaphorical, more allegorical, more creative?
Yes, I mean, that exactly what was happening with me and with other writers in Iraq, that we were using these metaphors sometimes as shields. I wanted to be understood. I'm the kind of person I like to be understood, actually, by readers and everybody, but I didn't want to be understood by the censors. So that's using those metaphors, because the true readers, they understand you with those metaphors, but the censors, maybe not. And well, funny thing happened with that metaphor. I'll tell you maybe if time allows it, with the Minister of Information and Culture with this. But another funny thing, a friend from back home, while I'm here in America, I kept some contacts, and he said to me, "Dunya, you were writing better before." So because he loved those metaphors I was using, they were maybe good for my poetry.
Right, that's what I was
here,
wondering.
yes.
I mean, anyone would want that, but in a way.
Yeah, it looks like they served our poetry, but a lot of surrealist things happened.
Right. I want to look at one of those passages. You note, let's see here, in this diary, about a shell, a seashell. I wonder if you'd read that. This is a very long work without breaks, and I'm just asking her to read a section of it here, from there to there. It's when you talk about poetry as a shell.
This is a prose, by the way, but it's okay that it's compliment that everybody says it's poetry. Yeah. On the seashore was an enormous shell that contained the protoplasm of poetry. Someone brought it to me and linked the essence of my life with its invisible thread. I felt like a kite looking at the world from above. Like any child, little things make me rise or fall. That shell of poetry drew me from or into everything, and let me do nothing but play with it and glorify it. I have tried many times to rid myself of its magnetic power and its deadly effect on me.
It's lovely and troubling. What about poetry is like a shell, and why would you want to get rid of it?
It's annoying. It's well, it really. I'm so obsessed. Even one time, I said to someone, it's how you are when you are. I mean, when you are a poet, not even, I mean, as a writer, it's easier to say I'm a writer. When you say I am a poet, you hesitate. I don't know why. And like people, how you deal with it first with yourself, like 24 hours a day, you are obsessed with something. What is this thing I am obsessed with? Why am I obsessed with this all the time? And why is this directing my life? Everything is dictated by this, by poetry. And on the other hand, like I found myself one time saying to someone, yes, I write poetry, but all my other habits are good. Like, and then I thought about it. I said, so it's like as if you defend yourself. And as a matter of fact, I even remember how when I was teenager, I mean, I was in my room and I was lucky I had a room of my own. I mean, Virginia Woolf was right. I mean, it was very important. And my mother, we always had a lot of guests, and I heard her one time saying to the guest, she is busy writing her feelings. And you know how embarrassing that is to a teenager. Yeah. But you know why she said that? She said that because in Arabic, the word shu'ur, feeling, is similar to shi'r, poetry. Yeah. And Arabic is not her first language. Aramaic is her first. Arabic is her second. And she made her own plural of the two words to say, she said it is like she's busy writing feelings. And but you know, now I think of it, I appreciate that she considered writing feelings important enough to excuse you from coming and be with the guest, or from social daily, you know, duties and things like that.
That's lovely. You were once asked if you thought poetry was therapeutic, and you said poetry is not medicine, it's X-ray. What do you mean by that?
Yes, I still believe it's not healing. It's not. It's an X-ray that helps you see the wound and understand it. And it's like, or if I say something similar, it's like a key where you can open a door behind which later you can see all the ruin that happened then. I mean, it's not. I mean, although it is not healing and it's actually useless, but it's very effective at the same time. It's strange. So I'm trying to, like, it's really, it's very effective, like and delicate, like the trace of the butterfly on the things. But to say it can stand in front, in face of catastrophe, I'm not sure if it can do that. But we do resort to poetry, and we feel together. We feel alone, and we feel together at the same time when we see all this violence that's happening in the world. Not that it's going to, you know, to heal. I still believe it's not that the function of poetry, and but we, as if there's a possibility of survival, but it's not final. It's not final. That to say I survived, it doesn't mean you are saved. It doesn't mean.
Right. In the Diary of a Wave Outside the Sea, this remarkable autobiographical book, I think it's a poem. It's about 120 pages. It's in two parts, one written in Iraq and one written in America. It's sprawling, and it has this elastic form. It's got dreams and narratives and myths and reporting and epigraphs and lyrics. It's just really strange. I mean, I haven't read anything else like it except maybe Leaves of Grass. What was your model for this? What were you doing? And you said that you didn't even think of it as a poem, which just strikes me as remarkable. I mean, clearly it is a poem. It's written in highly metaphoric language. It's broken into beautiful lines. It uses repetition. It uses all the elements of poetry. Why would you think it's not a poem?
You know, it had the symptoms of poetry. Such as the symptoms are similar to like symptoms of falling in love. Like you feel this excitement, and you are. But it happened. I wrote this after is it Second War, Gulf War we call it, or it's called many names. It's called the 91 War. Here it was called Desert Storm, and in Iraq they called it the mother of all battles. It had nicknames, you know. So it is, and that war was very intense, and I very clearly remember it very well. I mean, because simply we had a room in the house called the war room, the room of war.
Some sort of safety room for you?
My mother prepared that room. She called it the war room, and we were not allowed to leave the room during that war of the 191. And she designed it in a special way, like she taped the windows so that if the windows break, we don't get hurt so badly. And she taped the hole of the door so that the chemical weapons don't go through. And we were suffocating because we were trying to. My brothers and I were taking turns to lit the candle, and it was not because no oxygen there. And even going to bathroom was a problem because she was afraid. She wanted us to die or live all together. So she was not wanting anybody going. Even like to bathroom was like quick. So anyways, it was something. But what was I saying? Anyways?
The form of this book.
Okay, so that's when I mean I had such an experience in that war, and right after I didn't write it during the war, but when it stopped, I started writing this as I wanted some response to the war.
It like
was so
something
much
you
mess.
had read?
It was so much mess that I felt that if I give it a form, this mess in my head, I wanted to give it some form. And the title of it actually, I hate this saying that they say you hit a bird with two stones. I hate to hit the birds with even one stone. But I had two things goals in the title. One is as it is understood, like the wave outside the sea. The sea is the society, the environment that you want to be out of. But the second meaning, sea in Arabic, bahar, also has another meaning, which means the pattern, the metric pattern, because we have classical Arabic poetry. Its traditional poetry has 16 patterns. Each one is called bahar, sea, and mine was modern, so I wanted outside these patterns also. So it had some.
What we would call free verse. Does that relate to any way?
No, free verse was after the traditional Amudi, we call it. There's a free verse movement started in Iraq actually in the 1940s by Iraqi two Iraqi poets, female and male, Nazik al-Malaika and Badr Shakir Sayyab. They started the free verse movement and separate to other Arab countries. But that also had some rules. It still has rhymes, but it was more free with the lines and because the tradition was so strict with the hemistick, what you call it in the middle and all that. And it was just 16, founded by Farahidi in the 8th century. And my friends, other modern writers, poets, and I, who were serious about not only poetry but modern poetry, why should we all follow one man's rules, you know? But that was not welcome. This type of modern writing was not so welcome in the media yet. Anyway, so that was kind of a response to the sea is that it's outside that what is familiar, a written style of writing, and also outside the sea, the society, the environment, that.
Would you read a passage here? It's about the bombing. It starts here, it runs on to here.
The radio says that Allied planes are dropping cluster bombs on shelters and bridges. I never heard of such a phrase except as a cluster of graves. Oh life, a suspension bridge between two wars. Why don't the flowers of others like to bloom, save in the remains of our ashes? The letters do not arrive. The telephone does not ring. Nothing rings but me. What time is it now? Is the war over? Will they return? Was there enough room in the sky for the birds when the planes raided our dreams? When the planes raided our dreams and turned everything to flower? It was a night of extremes. Some of the residents could not sleep, while others slept forever. And when the spots of light multiplied in the darkness, flying things lost their minds. No one could tell if the birds had changed into planes or if the planes had changed into flaming birds. Everything was shaking, the city and the people inside the city, the hearts inside the people, and the people inside the hearts. The planes circled over the capital, pumping its residents into the villages toward an unknown fate and toward the questions of children that grown-ups do not know the answers to. The planes flew over Al-Tahrir Square, filling the eyes of Jawad Salim with dismay as his horses left the city. The planes flew over the shelters, over the debris that collected in the shelters, over the children who slept under the debris, over the body parts that had been children, over the ash the body parts became, over the walls sprinkled with ash, over the drops of blood on the walls. In war, no one is rescued from death. The killed die physically, and the killers die morally.
So beautiful and so horrific. Such a weird tension between what's being described in the language and the rhythms of those phrases. What's it like for you to hear this in English when you wrote it in a different language?
Yes, it's kind of different. When I read in Arabic, of course I read it better. Excuse my bad reading.
No,
It's
not
my
at all.
third language.
You read lovely.
Yeah, it's really my third language, but I'm improving in it. And English helped me, made me more sensitive towards my original language. I kind of it made me really think more carefully about Arabic, because you know how your first language is automatic, but then because of translation you go back and forth, and you even improve your first language as a result of the second.
War poetry has such a long history, well, back from Homer and beyond, I suppose, all the way up to our great Iraq poets, our great Iraq war poets in America, like thinking of Brian Turner and Kevin Powers and poets that you know from Iraq. But your position to the war is different. You were never a soldier, which is your primary difference. I suppose there are other differences. You write, on the first morning of the new year, all of us will look up at the same sun. You're not writing about being in battle, which gives the poems and your descriptions of war such a different tenor. I wonder if you'd read this poem called Iraqis and Other Monsters.
Yeah, and this is really about stereotyping the Iraqis, but I found here in America, that Americans also are stereotyped by our people. Yeah, so this is, we have these ethnic groups and all the conflicts between, anyways, let me not ruin the poem. Iraqis and other monsters. They are terrifying. Their heads are dark and tremulous. No, how you say it? Tremulous?
Tremulous.
Tremulous, right. They are terrifying. Their heads are dark and tremulous. They roam the desert in the form of bulls and lions, with swords gleaming in their eyes. They rub their mustaches when they make promises or threats, or when they flirt. Smoke pours out of their massive noses and rises to the sky. They shake the earth with such strength it wakes the dead. They live in darkness without water or electricity. Dust is their food, clay their bread. They know neither sleep nor rest. The war visits them every day with new baskets of bones. They have strange customs. The Sunnis say the Shia all have tails. The Shiites carry keys to heaven in their pockets in case of sudden death. The Kurds take to the mountains when they fight and when they dance the dabka. The Chaldeans consult the stars in all decisions. The Assyrians put feathers on their heads to prove they've vanquished the eagle. The Armenians throw themselves in the river whenever they are annoyed. The Mandeans celebrate their festivals by staying home for 3 full days. The Yazidis honor the peacock and consecrate lettuce. The Turkmens are always waiting for the Sultan to return. When the sun sets and the guns fall silent, these Iraqis and other monsters take out their ouds like lutes, and make music for the missing together until morning. And I want to say something though about this. This was written before all this happening. This is a pre-ISIS era, you know, and it's. I mean, to be honest, this would be even written differently. Maybe I don't know after, because I'm so occupied. My mind is so occupied with what's happening in Iraq, especially in the north, especially to the Yazidi minority and also to Christians these days, that I'm afraid I have some insomnia now because of this, because I've been involved with it day and night, and I've been writing my new work on this thing.
What this poem does is stand outside all these prejudices, all these stereotypes, and makes them all seem a little ridiculous, right? Makes us realize that we can transcend these ridiculous images of one another for peace if we would just be a little more morally imaginative.
Yes, but at the end, they are all missing something, and that, I mean, they are monsters, but in the poem, they look monsters, but they are really, from inside, there's fragility, right. And, but right. I don't know.
Another one of your poems captures the city just before it ends. It's a really startling, frightening poem.
I wonder which one.
It's called 5 Minutes.
Oh, that one. That's a very old one. Yes.
What, like
2,000
2,000 years old?
20th century. I'm a poet. When they say poet from the 20th century, I say, whoa, like I'm a dinosaur or something still living.
I know, yeah.
Yes, and this was imagining the last 5 minutes in the world, like last 5 minutes. Right. In 5 minutes, the world will end. The owner of the shop next door has just put up the closed sign and gone away, as if he knows there is no time left for work. There are other stores open. Their owners are still absorbed in work, but the world will end in a group of lively boys rushes by the street, following them a dog leading an old man. The traffic light is red. The bus driver makes a slight adjustment to the rear view mirror. There are still several scenes that move across the mirror. The driver pulls away now. The traffic light is green. It will keep changing even after 5 minutes. A young man checks his watch and waits for the next bus. In the public park, a couple walks past the statues and smiles under the sun. The statues are carefree. They stare firmly at nothing. A tourist wanders full of curiosity and takes pictures of what will soon be absent. There, in the white hospital, women bear new babies. Too late. The babies might leave the world without names. In one of the wards, they will be left forever in test tubes, while the wiggling lab mouse performing a test will be free at last from the big eye that always watches. The test is not difficult, but time will run out before the answer, and it no longer matters whether or not you knew. Smell the roses and keep going. The rose always knows that the world will end in 5 minutes. The blue shirt in the shop window seems beautiful on the mannequin. A young woman points it out to her friend, and they head toward the revolving door, to be swallowed by the towering building. On the wall, glossy advertisements. Huge sale, a new remedy for wrinkles. Cigars don't harm your health, but the world will end. In his walled room, inside the walled palace, inside the walled city, the tyrant is chewing on an apple and watching himself on television. Who would believe that in 5 minutes he will relinquish his throne? Another defendant receives a life sentence. His attorney wants an appeal, but the world will. Passengers push through the exit door. Others come in through the entrance door. A woman sets down her suitcase and waves her hand. It's not me. A man waves to her from behind the airport glass. It's not you. I don't know if they met or if the time. That university student prefers to travel by train. It doesn't make much difference now. He has agreed with a friend to go on a picnic. I don't know if the picnic ended before the world or the world before the picnic. As for me, I'm writing a letter. I don't think it will be finished within 5 minutes.
It's so haunting the way you identify all these ordinary little details of people's lives, and hovering over that is the fact that everything will be destroyed. It really captures that, the tragedy of war. We sort of wince as we read that poem, knowing what's coming, having lived through it.
Yeah, but this was published in Iraq, and like what I meant by censorship, like that stanza of tyrant and all that, they question you about, like who you mean by that. And it happened one time, a friend published, that's why they said that your poetry is subversive, they called it there. And I had a friend, very nice friend who was also a poet, and he was editor in one of the Iraqi newspapers. I don't remember which one, we had 3. And that poem Pronouns, which is in the end of The War Works Hard, in 91, he published it, and he told me something. He said, you know what, I published this. If someone asks you, who is the general in the poem, say that's Schwarzkopf.
Oh, interesting.
So these were our ways of survival, like
this.
in Iraq, these ways, tricks.
Nice, very nice.
So if they say who's the tyrant, I say, no.
It's
like
good
someone
that it's good that tyrants aren't very smart, isn't it? It's a very brief poem called "The Plane." The plane arriving from Baghdad carries American soldiers. It rises above the moon, reflected on the Tigris. Above clouds piled like corpses and an ancient harp and the beaten breasts and the ones who were kidnapped, it rises above the destruction that grows with the children and the long lines at the passport office and Pandora's open box. The plane and its exhausted passengers will land 6,000 miles away from an amputated finger lying in the sand.
I love when you read it. It's so good.
No, I should have had you read it. But it's such a devastating poem. The way it takes this world-shaping action, the war, the planes, all this political disaster, and then it brings us right down onto the ground to one little moment that says everything, right? Which is that somebody died. Somebody precious is now blown to bits. And of course it's startling too, and it's an amputated finger lying in the sand. You don't even know who it is. It's just a devastating little poem that captures the whole war. Bravo. There's another one I want you to read called The Prisoner. Remember that? I realize you haven't read these as recently as I have. Again, it's one of these little moments, because we experience the war, in the newspaper or on TV, and it just seems so abstract and so large and so loud and so, kind of video game-esque for Americans. And then you bring us moments like this.
I thought you were going to read it, but it's okay. The Prisoner. She doesn't understand what it means to be guilty. She waits at the prison entrance until she sees him to say, "Take care of yourself," as she always used to remind him when he went off to school, when he left for work, when he returned while on vacation. She doesn't understand what they are saying now at the back of the podium in their official uniforms. They report that he should be kept there with lonely strangers. It never occurred to her, as she sang lullabies on his bed in those distant days, someday he would end up in this cold place without windows or moons. She doesn't understand. The prisoner's mother doesn't understand why she should leave him just because the visit is over.
That's what war is for actual people, is losing their family members, being separated, being bewildered by it. I suppose all these are based on actual friends or experiences you heard about or knew about.
Yes, we always heard of, always somebody disappeared. I mean, when I was a journalist in Iraq, I mean, there was in a corner of every newspaper in Iraq, there is a saying, same saying, it says, write freely whether the government likes it or not. But nobody believed it. We knew that was like not even a joke, it was a trap. And we were, because we were seeing our colleagues disappear, every day somebody disappearing there. Whether in prison or gone, or like in best case scenario to what they call exile.
Like you.
I don't know
escape.
what exile is.
Like you?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that does seem
That's the best case.
preferable. Yes. In the diary.
You know, I wanted to say how lucky I was that I had a suitcase. But these days, because you know, I can't get rid of these images of those going on. Now, the people are leaving with no suitcases, with nothing, just leaving.
The story in today's paper was so disturbing. Yeah. Just a little moment from the diary.
I wander among the ruins like a word in the dictionary, roaming in search of its meanings. In a language without verbs, I'm a verb of the past, trying vainly to change to the present tense. They said, behind every window, no matter how small, a horizon can be seen. Ever since I heard that, I have been drawing windows that open out to nothing. This was all written like a long time ago. I don't even remember it. Really, seriously.
Still
it's all
incredibly
surprise,
powerful.
But, thank you for bringing all this.
To wander among the ruins like a word in the dictionary. Brilliant. We're going to take a little break. There is a weird sardonic humor about the war in some of your poems that I think comes from having survived them. A kind of cosmic absurdity. I'm thinking you're probably one called Silent Movie.
Oh. Mm. What was I thinking? There, in the sky's playground, the gods toss us around like curses and cast us down from above without speaking a word. They watch us, but don't hear us. We are a silent movie with a bad director. No wonder the gods get bored or switch us off and go to sleep or forget about us as we bend like a question mark on an empty screen, or sneeze as we pray for return of the gods, even without any words. No, I would change a lot in this if I rewrite it.
Interesting.
It's interesting that you ask me the poems I never read in public.
This reminded me of Gloucester and King Lear talking about the gods killing us for their sport. I'm sure half people in this room can recite the lines. Then there's another one here. The title poem, The War Works Hard, begins, how magnificent the war is, how eager and efficient. Early in the morning, it wakes up the sirens and dispatches ambulances to various places, swings corpses through the air and rolls stretchers to the wounded, summons rain from the eyes of mothers and digs into the earth, dislodges many things. Some are lifeless and glistening, others are pale and still throbbing. It produces the most questions in the minds of children. The poem goes on like this with this really strange kind of humor. What are you reaching for there? How magnificent the war is?
I don't know. It's why. I mean, I know it's personified. I wanted to, so it's treated like something, like somebody like doing their job.
Yes.
And it was, you know what, in my mind, I think, I'm not sure, but this comes to my mind always, as if, like what I saw, these scenes from war, as if they are scenes from thousands of films that
Yes.
don't relate to each other, and they're seen from here and there, and they come, it's strange how they come to your mind together, and but they are very vivid in my mind, that it's strange because my memory is not so good. I forget a lot. I find myself, it's embarrassing how much I forget, but how vivid are these scenes in my mind from that time. And so I get always question, is this about a certain war? And it's not about a certain war, it's about war itself.
Which is always working hard.
Yes.
Yes, too hard. Yeah. It ends with these lines: "The war works with unparalleled diligence, yet no one gives it a word of praise." Let's talk about the immigrant story, which is your story.
Yes.
You write, "As I left, I knew I was forgetting something. It bothered me to leave it behind, but I was determined not to look back, like Orpheus leaving the underworld." But of course, you do look back all the time.
Yes, I mean, this myth of Orpheus fascinated me always. How, you know, and in case it's popular, but just in brief, I tell you, sorry if you know it and I'm repeating to you, but Orpheus lost his beloved wife, Eurydice, and then he was promised that he would have her back with one condition: if he doesn't look back when she's after him from underworld to the upper world. But he does look back, and he loses her by that look. And but I always think, I mean, I even have in the Iraqi Nights a poem called "The Gaze of Orpheus," because I wanted it always, like, I want to get rid of it. I talked about it, about the gaze of Orpheus. What if he didn't look back? But you know, kind of, I understand him that he looked back.
Yes.
I mean, how can you not look back? I mean,
She pays the price, not him. He gets to leave.
right, but I think that looking back, because maybe he liked her so much that he was making sure she's behind him.
Right, definitely.
Or, I mean, the same way, like, you can't not look back to, let's say, your country, your original country. It's, I know, I mean, that I said, like, when you leave, you have, I mean, a child told me something one time, a neighbor child. She said, you know why we have our eyes in front of us? Because we want to look forward, not backward. I said, wow, I love that.
Yeah, that's good. You write, "Why am I blamed for departing from mirrors that reflected what I didn't like to see?" Remember that phrase? Why am I blamed for departing from mirrors that reflected what I didn't like to see? Who do you think? Do you feel a sense of blame for leaving, even abandoning your country? Is that sort of a nagging sense of guilt?
Yes, I mean, well, on official and less official level. On official level, there was a list where I was on the list as being traitor because I left without leave of absence. I just like escaped and everything. Suddenly, not.
So you're
returned
officially
back.
guilty.
Officially, but also not even casually, what you call it, or inside me. I mean, I don't know, to leave suddenly without saying goodbye to anybody or friends, and
It sounds horrible.
I even pictures and ID cards and those were left, but you know, a neighbor of us was so sincere. He went and he kept some of these ID
collected them for
cards
you?
and
Nice. That is
some
nice.
pictures. That
You
was
got it
nice of
eventually?
him. Not everything, but he kept he told us when people were there to like buy things or get things, and all he worried about is the ID cards. He took them and kept them for later.
There's this very painful section of the diary in which you apologize and apologize.
Oh, so that's an answer for your question. I'm sorry I left you among the ruins. I'm sorry I left without saying goodbye. I apologize to my new home for carrying the ruins with me. I apologize for not being able to be in two places at once. I apologize to the war for avoiding its nightmares by turning my face to the wall. I apologize to the sirens for preferring the sound of music and the rhythm of water fountains. I apologize for running to lose weight instead of running to escape explosions. I have left my friends too busy for their sufferings. Life continues behind their backs. I'm sorry. Away from you, I look at the blue spaces between skyscrapers in the America of lottery tickets, credit cards, and fast food. I leave you and love you.
You write in another poem, we cross borders lightly like clouds. Nothing carries us, but as we move on, we carry rain and an accent and a memory of another place. The pain of leaving people behind, it just seems to me incalculable. I can't imagine what it's like. And you had, as you say, you had to leave very quickly. There were no going away parties, no winding down, no cleaning out your desk.
Not only that, even my brother had his wedding coming in 2 weeks after that, and I wanted to wait 2 weeks, and he said, no, just go if you can, because we can send you the video later.
In one of your poems you write, there is a knock at the door. How disappointing. It is the new year and not you. Let's talk about that leaving in a hurry. This is called I Was in a Hurry.
This is the first poem I wrote here in America.
Oh,
Not right away. In the beginning, I didn't write. I was trying to find a space called a place or something. But really, when I returned to writing, like this was my returning to writing poetry. This was through this first poem I wrote here. And I really could connect better to the new place. I felt more, when I was able to write,
That helped.
I felt more at home.
It was therapeutic.
No. Almost got me.
Yeah.
I was in a hurry. Yesterday I lost the country. I was in a hurry and didn't notice when it fell from me like a broken branch from a forgetful tree. Please, if anyone passes by and stumbles across it, perhaps in a suitcase open to the sky, or engraved on a rock like a gaping wound, or wrapped in the blankets of immigrants, or cancelled like a losing lottery ticket, or helplessly forgotten in purgatory, or rushing forward without a goal like the questions of children, or rising with the smoke of war, or rolling in a helmet on the sand, or stolen in Alibaba's jar, or disguised in the uniform of a policeman who stirred up the prisoners and fled, or squatting in the mind of a woman who tries to smile, or scattered like the dreams of new immigrants. If anyone stumbles across it, return it to me, please. Please return it to me. It's my country. I was in a hurry when I lost it yesterday.
I love the way that poem rolls and seems to pick up momentum as it goes. Did you write it in English? The poem? Did you write that poem in English?
No?
And someone else translated it for you, or
You mean, did I write?
originally?
I wrote it in Arabic. I always write in Arabic.
You always,
first.
even now.
Oh yeah, I always write in Arabic first. You know, now I have the habit of going in the page first from right to left, then left to right, like this and this. You know why it drives me crazy? That's one of the reasons.
It's so much, so much more efficient. You could write in English, clearly.
I think so.
How much time do we have? Wait, okay. All right.
Some sentences sometimes come in English first due to their cultural connotations being here. Sometimes.
Okay. All right. Your attitude about America is complex.
My attitude?
Yeah, you write, America is but a baby of a country. She doesn't really cause problems. She always thinks it's easier to replace problems than to fix them. Your washer is broken, the repairman says. It's easier to replace it than fix it. Your country is broken, the politician says. It's easier to replace it than fix it. Oh, it's funny, but it's awful. Other times your attitude is even more playful. In a poem called Choices, you begin, paper or plastic? I am not sure how to respond. I wish I'd had such a choice in more pressing matters long ago, when I was in a country that cared less about our choices or what kind of bag we used. A reminder to us in America that we sometimes don't worry about the most important things. If you'd read part of a poem called The Foreigner, the second part.
Foreigner? I had that? Okay. The second part. Oh.
Yes, please.
You know, by the way, this in Arabic, the foreigner is, it was hard to translate. It's the foreigner and it's feminine ending, because in Arabic, every word is either masculine or feminine. There is a feminine ending. I mean, even the non-human, like for example, the room is feminine. Like the moon is masculine and the sun is feminine, and so on. Okay. So, and this was the title, like the foreigner and its feminine ending, his feminine ending. But that's, I don't know why we couldn't do that. I mean, we didn't do it in English that way, but anyways. So,
you'd have to say something, you would want something like the foreign woman? Is that what you were trying to suggest, a femininity about it? Is that what you were saying?
It was al-gharib wa ta'uhu al-marbuta, which is the foreigner or stranger and his feminine ending, as if is something attached to it. Is the double things? Is the female foreigner? Is the female foreigner rather than the masculine specifically? But how the way I said it in Arabic, as if this feminine female is attached. She's not the second. She's the second, because feminine ending. Like I didn't say just al-ghariba, which is we have that al-gharib, al-ghariba, but I said the masculine foreigner and his feminine ending, which means the female, but I said it in a complicated way. I like to make things complicated, but sometimes I'm just like a child. I don't know a thing about my role in this new play, and all my lines will mean nothing to the audience, since they understand neither my Aramaic nor my Arabic. So I'll imitate the gestures of whoever I encounter on the road, as I guess their facial expressions under the foreign sky. I won't tremble more than a baby leaving the test tube against his will. And I won't cry despite all these bodies who greet me kindly and carelessly. I have already seen them in a dream. Like me, they rush to prove they exist. They have fingerprints and memories and wings, and like me, they sometimes get stricken with boredom and the flu. They too depart for new places, though as tourists, and not immigrants. It's not enough, after all, to complain of the climate or of my role in this new play.
Think of that as you writing about the way you feel in this new place.
think you're right. I have attitude. Well, why?
Like,
No, you meant a different way. I know that.
like you're in this new place. It's like a play, and you don't entirely know the lines, but you have a role you have to play.
Yes, I mean, this, after all, isn't this true in the world? We have a role
Yes.
in the world. I mean, I even have in a poem called A Second Life, where I that if we need all a second chance, because in the beginning I thought we Iraqis need a second life. It's not fair. We lived all that. Why are not given a second chance? But then I wrote the poem after I thought, no, maybe everybody needs a second life. So it's like, yes, I think we need a second life.
We all feel that way. We all feel like we're in a play. We don't know the lines. In one of your poems, you write, "Outside of Iraq, I often dream of returning home." That's still true?
But you didn't continue what's after. But then I get afraid that I get caught again.
Yes, of course. Do you still dream of returning home?
You know, it comes, honestly, two things come always in my dream. My father, my dead father, always comes in my dream, and I always dream that I am back. And but to be honest, always not happy dream when I'm, like, something happens that I say, oh, but my daughter is not here, or something like that.
You could go back.
I think, yes, I can. Now it's different reasons, but I think I can go back. I am planning, to be honest, to go back north of Iraq, specifically to visit the dead, not to visit the living.
Your own family?
I don't know if I should. Oh my God, a lot of terrible things, happening. But my grandmother, who was very. No, maybe we don't have time. And do we have a minute? Oh, how many? 2 minutes, or do we have? My grandmother, who was this figure who I started my first literature experience with her. She was the one who was telling me stories over the roof of our house and all that. And back in June 2014, I was watching a video of a terrorist group, ISIS, and they were destroying these statues, these symbols of civilization. Not only that, they were destroying graves, because there were some symbols on them they didn't understand, like Aramaic or Hebrew writings or crosses or things like that. So that's why I thought of the grave of my grandmother, which was in the village north in Tel Kev. That's the village we went to for when it was war. So I mean, and I wrote a poem. It was published. It's not in these books. It's published in poetry. My grandmother's grave. It's about that. And so that's one reason. And there are mass graveyards now in Sinjar, Mount Sinjar, mass graveyards of these. Most of them Yazidi people. In these mass graveyards. Our families are men, and there are women who were not suitable as sex slaves, and children who refused to be separated from them. So I want to go and visit the dead this time, not the living. That's what I want to do, to go.
I hope you make that trip. It will be a very difficult trip on many levels.
I think, it's serious. I planned it and everything, and in May, end of May, beginning of June, and I have a manuscript related, so it would be also good to finish this and to have myself to see things and interview people, and so I don't promise, but I'm doing my best to do it.
Your daughter's name is Larsa?
Yes.
She's mentioned in this poem. This is the final lines of the diary.
It's a great relief to have my daughter far away from danger, from clouds like corpses, from kidnappers' masks, from long lines at passport offices, from amputated fingers in the sand. Larsa scatters the old pictures and mixes them with the new ones. She mixes pictures of snowballs in Michigan with pictures of a round city with 2 rivers, palm trees, poetry, wars, 1,001 nights. Inside that city was our home. Inside the home was our garden, not separated from the neighbors even by a wall. And inside that garden was a rasqi flower I will never smell again.
Thank you so much. This is lovely.
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. Thanks.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.